Welcome back to another 4C Group podcast where we discuss everything Park City. At the 4C Group, our passion is creating a luxury client experience. Today, we're going to do something special.
So special.
Super special. I've been waiting for this episode, so I'm glad today we're sitting down with someone who helped shape the trajectory of 4C, where we've been and where we're going next. My business partner, co-founder, and CEO of the 4C Group.
Best friend.
And best friend.
There we go. Just kidding.
And my best friend, Josh Phillips.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for being here, Josh.
I'm so excited.
Today we're going to talk. What's interesting about this episode is it's all going to be about 4C and Josh.
And 4C, yes.
Yes, the 4C Group. Yeah. So before we get into the 4C Group part, right? Let's talk a little bit about Josh. What I want to do is I've heard the story a bunch, but I don't think everybody else here. So we want to share.
I think everybody else has heard it too. Just kidding.
Well, now that we have 2 million viewers,
yes,
we need to get that out everywhere. So we don't have to go all the way to the beginning, but let's talk a little bit about your story. Maybe Phillips development, what got you into construction, and kind of why you're in Park City in the Wasatch Back.
Cool. Well, I was born to 2 parents in 1977. Is that too far back?
That's a little too far back, but that's all right. Now we know your age.
Yeah, exactly. 48. So started Phillips development, went off my own essentially in 2004. Prior to that, I'd worked for a couple of production builders. And I think kind of dive into that a little bit will help tell a story, I think, as we continue on. But when I first started with a company called Hamlet Homes, and I went to Fieldstone Homes. And when I was at Fieldstone Homes, I learned some things that really have applied to how we've created the 4C Group and why we created the 4C Group. Fieldstone Homes was really good about setting clear expectations. They were a production builder, but they were really good about setting clear expectations. To the point where, as an example, when we go through as we would build our model homes, we would build it with construction standards that would allow us to be able to speak to clients to help them understand that what was acceptable and what wasn't acceptable. Other builders at the time would go ahead and build the model homes, make them look perfect, put options in them that we would never even provide. Fieldstone Homes was the complete opposite. They would allow to have construction defects as defined by others to allow them to be able to say, hey, look, you can expect cracks in the concrete. That's something that can happen. You can go ahead and expect nail pops in your drywall. Now, of course, we don't do that at 4C Group, but the point is they set very clear expectations so their clients knew who they were and they were able to sell to those clients. And I learned some very valuable lessons about setting clear expectations. Anyways, fast forward, I always wanted to go off on my own, always wanted to own my own company. And I had a love affair with really cool things and really cool homes. So like when I was in high school, I was working for a landscaper that actually does work for us now, Terrascape Landscaping. And we would do landscaping installations on the nicest estates in the Wasatch Front, from in Highland down to Alpine and Draper, multi-million dollar homes back in the 90s, and really put in these really cool landscapes in these really cool estates. And I fell in love with that whole thing. And so I always knew that I wanted to build these types of homes. So anyways, left Fieldstone Homes, went off on my own, wanted to get into Park City. 2005 comes and I get my first opportunity to be able to build a house in Park City. And start building that house. And about halfway through, I get a phone call from a guy that was working for me at the time, Todd. And he said, hey, do you have any interest to build another house? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. So then, I don't know if you remember this, but you and Steve and Todd came and walked through that house that I was building in Promontory, that first house.
Yep, Don Trilla's
house.
Yep, I remember.
Yep. You guys came walking through that house, and we talked about this other project. We looked at that other project. We started working on that project, and then we started working about another project up in Weber Canyon, Riverbend Ranch, which was, I think, what really brought you and I together. So anyways, started in Park City in 2005, and from 2004 until essentially 2010, everything I did was a cost plus contract. and which is what every other contractor does in this market.
Maybe just give us a little explanation of what is a cost plus contract.
Yep, great point. So cost plus contract essentially means that whatever the costs are, regardless of what they are, there's an element of transparency where the contractor passes that cost directly to the client, plus either a fee that could be based off of a percentage or a fixed fee amount. So whatever the house costs to build, the client pays for and is on the hook for that, regardless, plus the amount of profit the contractor is going to make. It's a safe way to build for the contractor because the client takes all the responsibility essentially. And it puts the client in a position where they then, as we call it, they get to know how the sausage is, which is can be good and bad. There's no question. But anyways, I did the whole cost plus thing from 2004 until 2010. Recession hit, of course, in 2008, 2009. And from that moment until about 2010, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I wanted to figure out how I definitely wanted to keep on building. Ironically enough, when the recession hit, I went from like 6 homes to nothing in like 3 months.
That was everybody's favorite year.
It was incredible.
2009.
It was incredible. We did that awesome spec house, and within 2 weeks, it like was done. But anyways, in 2010, I was thinking of ways to go ahead and reinvent how I did things. Did a whole bunch of research, went to some classes, and I was trying to figure out how to be able to create a construction company that would allow the clients to be better positioned to have a really good experience. Because to me, and this is what really resonated with you and I as we continued our relationship, and I'll get to that in a second, is success as a company is if the clients have a good experience. If afterwards you're really good friends with the clients, you hang out with the clients, not that you have to go out every Friday or Saturday night, but you get together for lunches and you have a mutual respect for each other, that's success. So I was trying to figure out how to do that. And I was looking at the past, trying to figure out all the projects I built from 2004 until 2010, what went well and what didn't, which projects didn't go well. The projects that didn't go well were the ones that there was a lot of cost overruns and the clients had an expectation that they were spending less than what they actually spent. Because once again, in a cost plus scenario, you don't really know the cost until you're done. You don't have full transparency as to what the house is going to cost until you're done. And then even then, it's 3 or 4 months after that until you actually get all the invoices, because subcontractors don't send all their invoices in right away.
So why is that? So I'm a client, I'm building a house. This cost plus sounds great. I found somebody that's going to do it for X percent of the costs. Mm-hmm. And so I think, he gives me this budget, right? I got the budget. I'm going to build this house for $5.8 million and whatever it says on this estimate.
Yep.
Why? How does that work? How as a homeowner do I not know what that costs? Because he's telling me this is the estimate of this house. What is that? And why don't I know that?
That's a great point, because I think, when a professional gives you a document that says this is what it's going to be, you go into it with the expectation that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
But in a cost plus scenario, there's so many scenarios. There's 2 scenarios that really come up that make it so that you don't understand the true cost when it's done. As an example, when you're doing cost plus, the contractor is not as incentivized to go ahead and keep track of any client changes. The original scope of work may have been, and it's probably ambiguous because it generally is, but the scope of work may include, I'm just going to make it up, a certain amount of windows in the house, right? And sizes of windows, and it's all there. But there's a lot more that goes into the scope of work. As an example, well, what species are we using? Is it aluminum clad wood? If it is, what species? What type of jamb extensions? What type of hardware? What windows are operable? What windows are not? And not all that information is defined at the time of contract. So in cost plus, the contractor will work with the client and say, hey, how do you want to do this? And they work through all the costs, et cetera. And even then the contractor will say, well, it's this much money to do this. Well, by the time it gets all done, including installation, which who knows what happens, maybe the contractor didn't plan on what type of weather barrier was going to be used, what kind of flashing was going to be used on the windows. By the time it's all said and done, you get the pricing in and you may be 10% over budget. But the client's not going to know that until you get all the invoices. Yeah, because the scope of work isn't defined.
And maybe the contractor went out to Pella, got some price. That's the window he thought was the best. And the client didn't understand that, and he wanted a Windsor window and
Totally.
fur. And by the time he comes in, there could be a 30% delta, and nobody
you don't know.
And nobody knows.
And before you know it, the budget line item was $150,000 and the client spent $156,000. Now that $6,000 may not be that big of a deal. But keep in mind that $6,000, the contractor still got his percentage off of, one. And two, if you add that type of increase across all the line items, by the time you're said and done, you're 20% over budget. And the clients are not happy in that situation.
And as you said, a lot of time, they don't even realize that until halfway
100%.
through the project, because there's a onesie, twosie, things are going good, it's moving.
Yep.
And then by the time, a project, which could be 12 to 24 months in construction, depending on the size of the house,
yep,
you just don't know. It could be 18 months down the road before somebody actually realizes they're 20% over.
100%. So to kind of go back to your question, when you're given an estimate at the beginning and it says $5,186,222.50, as a client, you expect that that's going to be accurate. And it's not to say that the contractor doesn't expect it to be accurate at that point. But in a cost plus scenario, 90% of the contractors don't have the processes and is not organized enough to go ahead and track the costs that the clients want to spend, or track the options the clients want to put in the house, so that they can help clients understand cost throughout the entire process, so they can help them to understand at the end it's actually going to cost X instead of what it was at the beginning.
Gotcha.
So anyways, that's kind of getting into the weeds.
So fast forward, right? Yeah. 2009 hits, you had 6 projects on the docket, moved that to 0, 1.
Within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks.
Yep.
That put some time on your hands, gave you a little chance to kind of rethink life in general, what you want to do, where you wanted to be, where you wanted to take your company. Let's talk a little bit about that, where that put your mindset.
So I did a lot of research, took some classes, read some books, talked to a lot of people. And there's something that an individual said, ironically enough, it was at a class where I was trying to get certified as a green builder for the National Association of Home Builders. And the guy that was putting on the conference was a builder back in the Midwest and had nothing to do with being certified green by any stretch, but he started talking about cost plus versus fixed price, which was on my mind at the time. And he said, essentially, if you're still doing cost plus, you're not a professional contractor. If you're doing cost plus, you're a manager, is all you are. You're just managing the process and managing the client. If you're a professional, you know what the costs are. You know how long it's going to take to build. And then therefore you can set the clear expectations to do it. And when he said that, it was like this big, huge light bulb just went off. I was like, oh my gosh, can I do that?
You wanted to be a professional builder.
I want to be a professional builder.
You took that personal, it sounds like.
It was huge. Like, I'm not a manager. I want to be a professional builder.
He was calling you out, it sounds like.
At the time, I was like, I've been doing this for 6 years. I know what I'm doing. But I was like, I want to be a professional builder. So I'm going to look into this. Now, within a couple of weeks of that, couple months, I can't remember exactly, I got a phone call from a friend that's a real estate agent. A lot of our work comes from real estate agents. And he was a good friend of mine. And he said, hey, 2010, mind you. He says, hey, do you have any interest to go ahead and build a house in the colony? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He's like, well, this guy's flying into town. He would like to go look at lots. Are you willing to go look at lots with him? I said, 100%. I said, put him in contact with me. Let's have a phone call before he comes into town. We have the phone call. Long story short, the client tells me, hey, look, I don't want to spend any more than $3 million. I want $1.8 million on the build, $1.2 million into the lot, and that's all I want to spend. So he comes into town, we go look at lots, and as we look at lots, he falls in love with a lot that's more money. Mm-hmm. Of course, we all do, right? We find something we really like, and he says, hey, can we go ahead and buy this lot? I help him go ahead and come up with the offer with the developer so we can get the lot he wants and still be able to get a few things. He secures the lot. And I said, hey, okay, well, just so you know, we can't change the budget for construction because it's already tight as it is. He said, got it. It's great. We'll keep that budget. I said, here's the thing. And in my mind, I was thinking about doing the fixed price, right? I wanted to do fixed price.
This was going to be the shot.
This was it. And I said, hey, I can go ahead and make sure we hit this $1.8 million range, but I can't give you the total cost until the full plans are designed and all the interiors are finalized, et cetera. I need a complete scope of work. Let me help the team to be able to come up with a scope of work. I said, in order to be able to hit your budget, you need to hire the architect that I have in mind. And of course it was you. Because prior to that, I haven't talked a lot about it, but prior to that, we met each other in 2005. We worked on some phenomenal projects. I really I hitched my wagon to what you were doing because one, you valued collaboration, and two, your plans were detailed. And three, you allowed me to be a part of that detailing. So I didn't want to control the design with this client. And I told him that. I said, look, I don't want to control the design. You can get what you want, but I have to be part of the process to ensure that the scope of work is defined and the plans have the quality and quantity of information. He agreed to it. We went ahead and did it. We went through the entire design process. And within about 2 months, I went to him. You're going to say something?
Well, I want to see what you're going to say, but I have a little story to put in there. Right.
Excellent. So within 2 months, I was like, okay, client, we need to go ahead and bring in an interior designer. And I have a thought.
Yeah.
We need to be able to control the quality and quantity of information. How about you let Solim and I do the interior design specification? Now, we're not interior designers, but we've been in the business long enough. By the way, we won Best of Show at the showcase.
Yeah, so there was some proof there to the pudding.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I was going to say back when we were talking about that, being involved and being collaborative, I actually remember the first conceptual design meeting we had with you and the client. And I think I can't remember if we presented 2 or 3 options.
I think it was 2 options.
2 options, whatever. And I think there was some input after that meeting. I think there was a strong winner out of that, the 2 that we liked, but there were some things out of the gate. This is still a hand sketch, nothing in the computer. There was some decisions made at that point to help make sure we were able to hit that budget.
Totally.
And so I think, what a lot of people don't understand, I think people think, we're going to bring in a contractor through the process after we get through the design and get what we want. Then we'll bring them in. We can do some value engineering. If there's issues at that point with it being over budget, that's way too late.
Totally.
I think there were some moves made very quickly and early on in that process. And this is something that we'll get to when we talk a little bit about the 4C group now and the collaboration. But there were some things made in that meeting, that 2-hour meeting, that probably saved us 3 months of heartache down the road if we had a redesign.
Oh, for sure. No question. With regards to budget, 1, and 2, where we came up with better ideas for the betterment of the project without costing more money.
Yep.
I mean, that was the great thing about it is we talked about it a second ago. I love really cool things, really cool homes. And to be a part of the process is huge because of the passion that a contractor has for the project, to find better ways of doing things and have an architect be willing to listen to that is huge.
Yep.
And so we're able to come up with a really phenomenal project. So to kind of fast forward, bid out the entire project. We did all the interior specifications as well. We hit his budget. I mean, I think it was like within $15,000 of his original 1.8.
And that was a budget you set after the time you had all that information before you started construction.
Correct. We kind of worked backwards. He said I didn't want to spend any more than 1.8. We designed to that 1.8 number. Then we bid out the entire thing based on a fixed price contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked about a cost plus. Fixed price is an element where I was able to tell this client, hey, look, we can build the house for 1.8015 million, whatever it was. And that's going to be the price as long as you stick to this scope of work. The most amount of work that comes into doing fixed price is all up front. You need to make sure that all the ducks are in the row. So you have all of the information. When you have all the information, you can bid it. A professional builder should be able to say, this is how much it is, as long as they have the scope of work. Yep. But that's the difficult part. Contractors rarely are in a position to control the quality and quantity of information.
Well, and I agree with that part. And I think a lot of contractors don't necessarily have the manpower or the estimating team to actually produce that amount of work up front or the knowledge.
100%.
Like how to even go about it.
100%.
How do you guarantee something when you're putting together a bid, a fixed price bid estimate, right? We call it a bidder estimate. I guess it's a bid. Same thing.
You can use it interchangeably.
Okay. Don't want to make that wrong. Yeah. So our estimate, right? Mm-hmm. And that work may not be taking place for 14 months.
Yep.
I mean, that takes some vision, right?
It takes some vision. It takes a high level of organization, not just from the standpoint of putting the estimate together, but a high level of organization to execute. And it needs to be done behind closed doors so the client doesn't have to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes into it. And I would say,
Totally.
Now being much more involved in that process and understanding, obviously in 2010, I almost could have cared less how you were doing it, other than we were doing the project and you were guaranteeing this price and we were collaborating. We built a phenomenal house, won the showcase. Great. But now kind of seeing behind the scenes and the level of detail and data. And I would say a lot of it is the history of what we've done together, even pre-merge, all that information on how to actually estimate that for something in the future. I mean, there's so much that goes behind that I don't think anybody understands what we're doing there. And frankly, when we bring a client in for the first time, they don't necessarily trust it or believe it.
Yep.
And so we have to, give some proof and some data and some testimonials. And I would say, after we've gone through that process, that it's been very successful.
100%.
So,
and if we get a chance to talk about Chris and what he's brought to the table, we kind of go over into those things. But, with regards to this story, just kind of button up the story. So we contracted the house. I told the client, look, if you ever want to change anything, this doesn't prevent you from any changes. I will just tell you the cost and how long it's going to take before we start on the work. So if you want to go ahead and let's use an extreme example, you want to tear the house down. If you want to start over, we get halfway through the house, you want to start over, by all means, we will start over. But I'm just going to tell you how much it's going to cost and how long it's going to take to do that before we tear it down. So it's not restrictive. And that's a lot of contractors will put into clients' minds that, you don't do fixed price because it's restrictive. By no means. It is absolute freedom. We will be able to do anything they want. The difference is we will tell them how much it's going to cost and how long it's going to take before we do it.
Yep.
And I don't know if anyone else is positioned to be able to do it like us. So we finished the house. There was a total of 4 change orders that the client put in. And he's still one of our greatest salespeople.
Yep.
It's been a phenomenal. And when that happened, I was like, okay, onto something here. We won Best of Show. We did the whole parade of homes or Park City Showcase homes. We won best overall. And clients are super happy. I was like, oh my gosh, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. And just to clarify, you said you finished the house. There were 4 change orders. So a couple of things I want everybody to understand is, so before the change orders, that cost was exactly the cost that you had estimated.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And then when you say the word change order, because some people think that's a 4-letter word, let's understand what that actually means, change order, because it's actually not. No, in a custom home, there's going to be things in the process that the client may want to change or add, delete, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so a change order is that process to allow them to do that.
Yep.
So kind of give a brief view of what that means, change orders in the fixed price contract, and why that's not a 4-letter word.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that we can unpack here.
Let's use the house in the colony example. There were 4 change orders, client driven.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the reason why, purpose, and why. And that's in a fixed price situation. That's not a 4-letter word.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what all of them were. I can remember 2 of them. 2 of the change orders. One of them was because he wanted to increase the scope of work for all the audio video.
Okay.
So he wanted to add additional audio video. And we had a certain budget that we were targeting, but he's like, I want to do this, that, and the other. And so I helped him we gave him a price.
But to clarify, there was a defined scope of work.
100%.
Audio, video, $30,515. This is what you get. This is what you signed off on.
Yep.
That was done.
Yep.
And then he chose to add additional, whatever, speakers.
Correct. Well, I can't remember all the specifics.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We did an AV controller and all sorts of stuff. Anyways, but I gave him the cost up front. So yes, we had a defined scope of work. He knew the defined scope of work. He wanted to increase the scope of work. I helped him understand the cost, and there was no time delay because we were able to go ahead and get it all approved up front. So I was able to help him to understand cost, and there was no time. The other one was was landscaping, a similar type of situation. But change orders are not a bad word. It's all client driven. If a client wants to go ahead and change something, we will facilitate whatever change they want to do. We're just going to help them understand the cost and the time implications before we commence on the work. That's the big key. No one else can do that unless you're positioned to go and do fixed price.
Well, I think that's something that, that definition to us, and this is me from the architect side, in a cost plus world, you hear all these things change order. And really it's that change order becomes about lack of information.
Totally.
Like, well, we didn't know there was, this steel beam and this and that. So when we went to do the steel detailing and got the bid back, it was $18,000 more. So it's $18,000 more. That's a totally different scenario when we talk about change orders from what you describe as a fixed price contract and now what we actually do at the 4C Group.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I think to me, that's a big one, like for people to really understand what that means.
Well, it's a huge one. It's a luxury client experience.
Yes.
And that's where that whole thing, that's where it started to be born.
Yep.
Was the relationship that you and I were building by being collaborators so that we could go ahead and collaborate to be able to provide a defined scope of work and have the quality and quantity of information necessary to be able to do it. So that house was kind of I don't know what term would be, but it kicked us off to be able to keep on moving forward with it. And every project since then has all been fixed price. Every single one without fail.
Well, I think that was a nice little introductory to where you're at, where you've been. Mm-hmm. I think it talks a lot about where we met, where we came from separately. And then, I think let's get into the 4C Group, which the 4C Group is where we merged basically in 2022, where now we combined full architecture services. We combined the interior company in there, and then we also combined Phillips Development into the 4C Group, which gained us the construction side of the company. Is that a fair way to put that? So, so I think that's great. We got to hear all about the history, the evolution from you doing, a percentage based. Now we're doing fixed price contract. Totally tested, ran it through the market, very happy clientele. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why, I made, we chose that merger to come together. That was one of the strengths of having you come aboard, was that you've vetted out that process and fine tuned it. And I would say, almost perfected it. I never want to say it's perfect, but I would say it's as close to perfect as I've seen it done. And I even have, worked in some commercial builds where that's, that's a little bit more the norm than in the residential. So,
and it came from really good team players that bought into the vision. I mean, there was definitely an element, okay, this would be awesome to do it. Let's go ahead and do it. And then working through to get the right team players. I alluded to Chris beforehand. Chris came aboard and really was able to go ahead and capture that vision and help us take it to the next level. And we evolved it. We're still evolving it.
Yep.
But it's become such a strong piece of everything that we are.
Well, so this goes right into my next question. So the name 4C, everybody always asks, hey, what does that mean and what is it about? So let's take a minute, talk about the history, which I can get into a little bit of history since that 4C really came from the side of my business. But then let's talk about the now and why it still works and why it's so relevant to what you were just talking about. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk a little about history and then I'll kind of let you jump in about the now and today things. So just everybody can understand where that name came from. So I got my master's degree in architecture at the University of Utah back in 1998. And we were sitting in the studio. So in architecture, you have a studio and it's kind of where you all design work and have the professors. And there was myself and three other of my friends kind of sitting around, talking about what we want to do with architecture, where we want to go after we graduate. And, we're kind of all sitting in the corner of the studio. And I was kind of like, hey, the four of us, when we graduate, we should start a company and we can call it the Four Corners. We're basically all sitting around a square table and we each had a side. And, we had been together for, 6 years in this program, and we're always collaborating. We became very good friends through it. And really our work became better because the four of us coming together and discussing ideas and iterating and making everything better, right? The old thing, 1 + 1 = 3, right? So that's where the term 4C was born, Four Corners. Kind of fast forward 20 years now, 2022, we decided to merge, which we changed the name of the company from 4C Architecture to the 4C Group because of the merger of architecture, interior design, and construction. And, we I didn't really struggle with it, but I know you struggled with the name, and we were going to say, what is the best name to move forward with in this market? Phillips Development had been in the market for several years, had a great reputation. 4C Architecture in the market, great reputation. Ultimately, we decided to keep the name 4C. And I think, one of the big things of that was one of the core values, and our main core value is collaboration. And thus, instead of defining it about 4 guys sitting around a table, it really became about somebody with the voice in the architecture department or team, interior design, construction, and also the client, which was a huge component, which you brought to it, right? We need that. So it's really about still all of us sitting together around a table and collaborating.
100%. I mean, I'll kind of chat, or I'll speak to a little bit to that struggle a little bit just for a second. So you called me in May of 2022, and we'd already started the interior design company together back in 2018. And we were already in the process of building this building. And the initial thought was architecture in the lower level, the pool area.
Yeah.
And then interior,
the cool floor.
Interior design on the middle 2 levels, and then construction upstairs as 3 separate companies. But we were already putting that stuff together. And there was a series of events that transpired the year before without going into great detail. But in May of 22, you called and said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we merge everything? And I don't know if you remember exactly what I said, but I was like, well, why not? Why couldn't we do this? Number one. And 2, I said, it's about time.
Yeah. It didn't take much. I think it took 0 convincing.
0.
It was basically, let's go. That's what I remember. Is like,
and as we're trying to figure out a name. I mean, you obviously knew what you wanted the name to be. I didn't know what I wanted it to be. I knew it wasn't going to be Phillips Development because I didn't want it to be about me. The whole concept of the merge was to go ahead and provide opportunities for growth for other people. 1, 2, to be able to go and bring everyone. That's not correct. 1 is to go ahead and come together as collaborators. That was the whole thing. So as collaborators, you want to make it about any one person.
Yep.
And so as we thought about it, we were talking about it. You called me one day as I think we were going to lunch at Vessel. I think we were going maybe make another contractor. I can't remember. We were walking to Vessel, and you're like, well, how about this? And you told the story of the 4C. Why don't we be the 4C group? We're 4 corners of a collaborative table. And I was like, that speaks to the collective whole. That doesn't speak to any one individual. 1, 2, 4C had a larger brand than Phillips Development. It would be foolish of us to not build off of that. And more than anything else, it just spoke to the overall collective whole. And it resonated, and it told a story. And I became extremely passionate about it. And I've been passionate about it ever since.
It was great.
Yeah.
Were you like, gosh darn it, Solim's right again? Or was it like, you were just so happy that
I gave you your win so I could get 10 more? No, I'm just kidding.
No, it was great. And to me, it's very personal to me. And as I know, Phillips was personal, and that was like,
it's a baby.
That was like your other child, right?
Sixth kid
that you had to give up. But to me, I was so proud that the vision that I thought about, 25 years previous, about people sitting around a table and collaborating to make a better product, was still so relevant, and it almost fits even better with it's almost a better name than it was back then for what we're doing.
100%. I mean, you said it's still so relevant. I would say it's especially relevant. Especially relevant.
Yeah. So
it really didn't take that much convincing, because it was the right choice, no question.
And to me, it was always about collaboration, and it was never about the individual, which I think is exactly where we want to be today. So everybody, that's the history of where the name 4C came from. So hopefully
now we're the 4 corners of a collaborative table: architecture, interiors, construction.
That's great, and it, visually it looks so good too. So I love it. All right, Josh, here we go.
I think I told you this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I don't remember. But as much as Phillips Development was my 6th child, 4C Group is my first. I'm just kidding. No. I've got more passion about 4Cs than I do Phillips Development.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a great segue into my next question for you.
Exciting.
So in your words, what is the big vision of the 4C Group?
Oh boy. That's a good question. So bear with me for a second.
I'm going to say take as much time as you need, because I think this is I mean, you speak to this every day in the company, and I want everybody to hear it from your voice, what you truly believe.
Yeah. The big vision is about the collective. It's about, you alluded to it, 1 + 1 = 3. It's about this whole idea that we are stronger together than we are alone. I love this. I love the metaphor of an 8-crew rowboat. We've talked a lot about it. I've got a picture of it up in my office. I would love to get a big, huge, massive 8-crew rowboat somewhere in our office, but they're too ginormous. It would never fit. But I love the idea of team members working together to be able to come up with something better. And when you work as a team, here's the irony in the whole thing. I don't know if irony is the right way to put it, but here's the irony. When you're working as a team, the individual gets better. And so the whole big picture vision is the collective. It's working as a team. It's working as a group of people for a better good. And when we do that ourselves, we grow. And so the second part of this whole thing is to allow opportunities for people to grow and develop. When you brought up this whole idea in May, it was like, I wanted a challenge. I wanted an opportunity to grow. And I was like, I've never grown a company like this. Yeah, I mean, Phillips Development, we had like 4 or 5 team members, but it was never anything like what we were talking about here. Within 12 months, we had 40 team members at the 4C Group.
Yep. And where are we at? We're like 50.
Just under. It's just under 50. And it's a perfect amount right now for what we're looking at doing. But the overall big picture vision of the company is the collective, the group, so that we can go ahead and grow as a team. I love Stephen R. Covey's whole metaphor of the maturity continuum. You know, when we're first born, we are totally dependent upon our parents, 100% for everything. We can't do anything without them. As we continue to grow and mature, especially, you become teenagers and you think you're fighting for your independence, right? It's that next step of learning how to be independent. When you're truly independent and you're truly proactive, there is tremendous power. You recognize that you control your destiny. And when someone recognizes that they can control their own destiny, look out. That's a phenomenal feeling to have, to know that you can control your destiny. You have that agency to do anything. Then the next piece of that becomes the magic. The absolute magic is the interdependence. When you are independent, and then you move into a place where now with other people, we can do even more than by myself. So not only being independent, you can recognize your destiny, but now when you do it with other people, you help the team grow. And as you do that, you yourself grow. So that is the special sauce of the 4C Group.
Yeah. And that's what I still think is amazing, this name 4C, what it stands for, and how it just becomes more and more relevant as the company scales.
100%. We kind of coined the phrase a luxury client experience to capture all of it. Luxury is when you're trying to define luxury, and I may be going to something.
This is let's go. Yeah, this is one of our things is luxury client experience. So what does that mean to you, and what does that mean to the 4C Group?
So luxury is an experience. Period. Luxury is an experience. There's an element of luxury that can be experienced by all classes. But luxury is an experience where something can be taken care of for you so that you can have an experience. Living in Park City is luxury. To be able to come here and experience Park City and everything it offers, from the standpoint of skiing in the wintertime, mountain biking, trail running, enjoying the mountains in the summertime. And I even love the shoulder season. The shoulder seasons are great. Now, people call them the mud seasons, etc. But the fall in Park City is next. I mean, it is phenomenal. It's beautiful. It's great. Amazing weather, etc. So living in Park City is a luxury because it's an experience. So understanding that luxury is an experience, as a company, the way that we define it is we want to make sure that the clients have an experience. When they're coming to Park City for a reason. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to build a house for a reason, whether it's generational, whether it's to spend time with family, whether it's time to, an ability to spend time with friends, whether it's just access to everything that is Park City. Whatever the case may be, they're looking for an experience. They don't want to know how the sausage is made. They don't want to have to build the house themselves, but they want to have the access. They want the house. We want to give it to them. And so we are the best suited in the industry to give that to them. from the standpoint of architecture, interiors, and construction, because once again, it comes back to ensuring that we can help clients understand scope of work and how long it's going to take with how much it's going to cost. Once we have that part figured out, man, we can just fly. We can get this house built so they don't have to worry about it. That's luxury. We take care of the whole thing so that when they move in and they walk through the front doors and it's fully furnished and it's done, they walk into the house and it's like, oh my gosh. And it emotes feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's the luxury. Now, let me kind of speak to clients. So a luxury client experience, this is where I get excited. Clients are yes, there's all sorts of clients. For the 4C group, here are our clients. Those that pay our bills, no question. Those that hire us for our services, no question are our clients. But in addition to that, no question are our clients are our vendors. We can't do this without our vendors. Cannot be done without a plumber, the principal of the company, all the way down to the journeyman, et cetera. All of it. We need all of it. So they're our clients. Local municipalities, they're our clients. Our team members are our clients. Ourselves, me, myself, and I, as Josh, as Solim, as Johanna, as Rachel, as John, as I could go through every one of them. A luxury client experience is an experience to be able to experience something for every type of client that we have. That really helps us to be able to narrow in on the whole big vision is what we were talking about that allows all of us an opportunity to grow because we're doing it together.
Yep.
Like I love that thought. That gets me up every single morning. Everything I think about is how to go ahead and continue to be able to build that.
Well, that's great. And I, obviously both of us, we have a huge level of passion and conviction about, the company we're building, which goes to all our clients, which we deem to be everybody we work with.
100%. Yep.
So this is a good one here. So with that said, for someone that's hearing about the 4C group for the first time, what's the one thing you'd want them to know right away?
Oh man, that's a good question. So let me kind of restate the
Josh
questions.
did not get these questions before, so
I tried.
He tried, I thought this was a good one.
Okay, so let me kind of re-ask the question. So for someone that hears about the 4C group for the very first time, what is it that we want them to hear?
What is it that you want them to know about the 4C group right away? What would be the most important? Like if somebody's like, oh, 4C group, what do you guys do? What would be the most important? And you could put it in context for a client, which we just kind of made that definition, which maybe that's the best context to put that in.
That together we're stronger. I mean, that sounds cliche, but that's 100%.
Yeah.
Together we're stronger.
I think the rowboat, if somebody walked in and saw the 8 crew rowboat sitting, that kind of says what we're trying to be. And I believe that was just kind of I wanted to kind of get the reaction on that, but I think that's the fair answer to that is like, and I always go back to the 1 + 1 = 3 or 1,000, right? We just don't know. It's almost unlimited what you can do when you have a group of people rowing together in one direction.
100%. We are stronger together, and that includes the client. With them, we are stronger together, but it's if you want to be able to have an experience, don't silo the team members.
Yep.
Don't do it. Yep. It's our industry, unfortunately, is at a place where the industry is being siloed, and it has been for a while. What's interesting though is software is bringing it back together. Which one's going to win? Well, I'm putting my bets on software. I'm putting bets on what we're doing. Yep. Together is stronger, no question. And
looking back at our relationship over the last 20 years, I mean, we were kind of doing that in baby steps.
Yep.
And so I think,
for sure.
I think that's why, once we made that decision, it was, let's do it. So this brings me to, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the inner workings of the company, because obviously Josh and we're not the brilliant guys that came up with all these things and, just us talking about it. I think I talked to a few people, we've had some great coaches, but I want to talk about what I think were two of the big game changers for the 4C group. And maybe you can talk a little bit about it, but so first, when we joined, one of my clients, I'm going to call him a serial CEO. So
professional CEO.
Professional CEO.
Yep.
He introduced me to the book Traction, and I immediately brought it to you. I'm not
ruined my trip to Panama, by the
way. Ruined it. So I'd like to talk a minute about Traction, and then I think the other big game changer, and I kind of put them on equal playing fields, but The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
100%.
I mean, to me, those if we were not introduced, I'm almost going to call them philosophies. So Traction is a business operating system. Basically, it's a book that talks about how to operate a business. Yeah. And then 7 Habits are just 7 principles. Stephen Covey would say, I didn't invent them. These are just 7 principles, but he really breaks them out and how they can be used. And you've already talked about a couple of those principles when you were describing the vision. So first, let's talk about Traction. And I kind of want to hear from you. Is you're the CEO and you've been instrumental in implementing that book Traction and the operating system. So what do you think, I guess for you, what has been the biggest, and this is probably a question we could talk about for 3 hours, but what's been the biggest breakthrough using Traction? What was I know there was probably the aha moment just kind of looking at it. And I think at first, you just don't even understand the power, or us coming from mom and pop, basically small businesses. A lot of that stuff, you don't even know what it means when you first look at it.
Yeah.
So,
Traction, it's exactly as the title says. If you could imagine being a 4-wheel drive and you're going through some mud, you're trying to be able to keep your wheels spinning. You're trying to go through that slog and you're trying to gain momentum. And the more momentum you get, the easier it is to get through the slog. And so that's what Traction is. This client essentially alluded, he didn't allude, he said that the Traction is an MBA in a book. I didn't get an MBA.
Yeah.
When you told me that, when you said that he said it was an MBA in a book, I was like, well, I didn't get an MBA. I've never done this before. I need to do everything I can to learn how to do this. I went through and studied that book. I say you ruined my trip to Panama because we went to Panama and that's all I did is read that book. It was just, not that it's like this massive page turner, but it helped us to be able to identify some of the challenges that we were going to encounter as we were growing the company. So it allows us to gain traction. And I think the great thing about Traction, if I was to go ahead and summarize it in a word or a sentence, is it helps to be able to create a world of accountability. And that's what's needed in business. Now, I believe accountability, my definition, or I shouldn't say it's my definition, but the best definition of accountability is it's a two-way street. It is between multiple people. Once again, this is we are stronger together. If you're creating a world of accountability, everyone's accountable to each other. It's not, oh, you're accountable to me, so you have to do what I say.
Yep.
No, it's let's figure out what the right way to do this is. Let's build traction and we're going to be accountable to each other. Team members are accountable to the team. And that's what Traction helped us to do, is build accountability.
Well, and I think some of the big parts of that were the vision building, right?
Totally.
If you don't have a vision for where you want to go, right? And that's where I think these two, Traction and 7 Habits overlap so much. But, really when you talk about accountability, it's
Traction
accountability.
Better be paying us, by the way.
I think we're getting paid for that. So
yeah. Just kidding. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I had this brilliant thing I was going to say, but
sorry, dude.
But I would say Traction, when you talk about accountability, to me, when I think about it, you're accountable, and every team member, we're accountable to the vision for the company.
100%.
Right? That's what we're accountable. Yeah. Now we obviously, Traction talks a lot about business structure, how to run it, operations. There's a concept called the GWC, which is get it, want it, capacity to do it. So that's putting somebody in the right seat. But all that, that structure, everybody, that's accountable to the vision.
Yep.
And so to me, that's the big breakthrough is I'm not accountable to you. I mean, you're accountable to everybody, but everybody is the vision of the company. And to me, one, kind of a light bulb that maybe took a little longer to understand was, running a business is super hard. And I think as people scale businesses, and I would consider ourselves maybe a medium-sized business now, is, what? If you can define a vision for the company, that helps you get the best employees, because now you can talk to people about what the vision is. And if their vision for their life or what they want to do professionally doesn't align with your company, that's okay. It just means this is probably not a good place for you to be.
Yep.
But guess what? If your vision aligns with that vision, and I would say if your vision as an employee, if you're in interiors, construction, interiors, aligns with what we're doing in the 4C group, there's not a better place to work. Because as we said, our whole thing is growth and collaboration and providing opportunity. So to me, I guess I didn't ask myself that question, but that would be my big breakthrough.
I would have asked you that question. So great. That was awesome.
So now, awesome. Yeah. So when you interview me, that one's already done. We'll check that off. Check that off. So this is something that you don't hear a lot of people when they talk about their business. Everybody always talks about how awesome it is and whatever. I don't want to ask you the question is, where do you think, and let's use it in the context of maybe traction, where do you think we're winning right now at the 4C group, and where do you think we still need to improve?
We're winning with people. First and foremost, we're winning with people. I'm amazed every single day at the quality of people that we have. And to your point, I mean, it's, as we were growing, we kept on hearing from everybody. Everybody would say, you need to have quality people. You need to have quality people. You have to have quality people. We use traction to be able to try to help us to do that too. And it's not to say that everyone's been quality that we've worked with over the last few years, but we're all now in line in the vision. But I was just saying it this morning, I'm just so impressed with the quality of people that we have. We have some amazing people.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think where we're winning is the type of people, the quality of people that we have. So that's what I would say we're winning. What we have yet to go ahead and work through.
Or where would you say we still need it? What would be the spot we need to improve the most, maybe? I mean, there's always improving everywhere, but
helping the rest of the market to know who we are.
Getting the word out.
Getting the word out as to who we are and why we are who we are. And the power of together instead of silo. That's our greatest struggle. It's not to say that we came up with this great idea. It's not an original idea to bring architecture, construction, interiors together, but it doesn't happen very often because, as we've learned, it's difficult because you're taking what the industry has said should be siloed. We're trying to bring together.
Yep.
And so getting that message out there as to why the together is so powerful, that's what we're still trying to work out, is to help everybody understand why the together.
Yep.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I would add on to that. Now, I'm just thinking about this as we're talking, is getting the message out there, but getting the 4C vision out there. What's the vision? Because not every client's going to be a 4C client either.
Totally.
But if that client understands that vision and that aligns, then hello, welcome to the 4C group.
Yep, totally.
We're here to give you the luxury client experience.
Yep.
Okay, so
we are better positioned than anyone else to provide that experience because we're together.
I would agree. I mean, I don't think anybody's really doing, at least in the Park City market, what we're doing. So that's traction. I mean, I think we wouldn't be where we are today without traction. The other half of that is the 7 habits of highly effective people. I mean, I think I think you adopted it maybe a little quicker than I did, but I've really become a huge fan. I think we're both believe deeply in the 7 habits. What's one habit that's transformed how you lead out of that book? We don't have to go into all the habits, but what's the one habit that you've really gravitated toward that you felt was that was a light bulb in leadership?
Oh man, I can't say just one. I mean, I could speak to every single one of them.
It's a tough question because as I was thinking about it and I wrote it, and I kind of want to see what you say, but as I went through the book, it was almost like every one was a new revelation.
100.
And it was
almost like a new revelation, but it was also obviously, it was oh my goodness, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I think what I would say is, as you were saying that, the begin with the end in mind is probably, now that's part of that's habit 2, which is still part of the independent continuum or independent portion of the maturity continuum. But if you can begin with the end in mind, and the way that Stephen R. Covey puts it is essentially you need to draft your own mission statement. You need to write down the most important things to you. What is most important to you? What do you want to represent? And it's not a matter of what the world is telling you that you need to represent or what's most important to you, because the world's going to try to tell you. Whether it's church, whether it's community, whether it's family, whatever the case may be, everyone's trying to tell you who you think you should be. But if you can get to a place where you really look at yourself in the mirror and you say, these are the most important things to me, regardless of what everyone else is telling you, these are the most important things to me. And you write that down, which is, if you can go through that exercise, you're proactive, which is habit 1, right?
Yep.
Once you have that portion done and you've really written down the things that are most important to your mission statement, putting first things first, which is habit 3, then you're actually able to go ahead and identify all of the roles within your life, plan every single week to make sure that you fulfill every single role with your mission statement in mind. So as you go through your planning session, you read through your mission statement, you remind yourself what's most important, you identify your roles, and you go ahead and make purposeful, scheduled moments in your week to ensure that you can go ahead and fulfill your mission statement within each of those roles. That, once again, habit 1, 2, 3 is still part of the independent part of the maturity continuum. But that right there has helped me to be able to become a better leader, because I'm able to go ahead and be the leader that everyone needs me to be within my limited amount of resources and time.
Yeah. I love habit 2. And I think for me, that's the one where I pulled, the quote I always talk about is decide what you stand for and then stand for it all the time. Comes out of habit 2. And to me, that's also the vision portion of traction, right?
Yes.
So that it's just so huge. Like you say, they all come together, but I think that's a big takeaway is like begin with that end in mind. And I think, you tell your family, where you look, your feet will follow, right? I mean, that's a very similar.
Where you look, your feet will follow. What you focus on gets done. What you think about, you become.
Yeah, there you go. So I think that's great. You picked habit 2. It actually kind of folds right into maybe I just guessed this, but so habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. How does that shape the client experience of the 4C group? Or how do you think that's so powerful with that client experience?
Well, I mean, it's Stephen Covey talks about it, and so does our business consultant mentor that we have, that we brought aboard, which is he's one that introduced us to 7 habits, and he's been phenomenal for our company. There's 2 forms of creation. You have to create mentally so that you can create physically, right? And be able to have a vision, which is that mental creation, allows you to be able to move into the next step, which is actually then making it happen. So when we're talking about the 4C group, having the overall vision of what we're trying to accomplish and helping everyone understand that vision, finding out who it resonates with all of our different types of clients. Once again, defining those clients based on those that pay our bills, our vendors, our team members, and ourselves, allows us then to be able to go ahead and then create that physical piece. So how I would relate that to the 4C group is the importance of vision.
Love it. So 7 habits, traction, game changers. Yeah. Like you said, Josh and I ran mom and pop shops. And I think I can guarantee without those two books, we would not be where we're at today.
100%. And it's because we're trying to do things the right way. And when you're trying to do things the right way, things will come from the universe, however you want to put it, things will happen.
Yeah. So I agree, which kind of comes into, so the 4C group, we have 7 core values. We don't need to run through all those. We're more than happy to, when clients come in to talk about it. But the top core value on our chart is we are collaborators, right? We are collaborators.
We are stronger together.
How does that play out in the day-to-day at the company? Oh. I mean, let's talk about our building, right? We built this 12,000 square foot facility that we call the 4C Collaboration Center.
And podcast studio.
And well, that's part of the collaboration set. We're collaborating with the world, Josh, collaborating with the world.
Yep. Yes, we are.
But
we're stronger together.
As we built that and we built this, and obviously we merged during the process of the design of that. But now let's talk about how important this building has become to the 4C. And I think that we are collaborators and how that does now play out in the day-to-day of the company.
So when we first merged, we were in 3 separate units. I mean, first off, I guess architecture was working from home.
Yep.
Completely from home. We had to go ahead and arrange a few things to be able to get architecture in the office. At the same time, we were growing our construction company, the construction side. So they had an office, and our interior design company already had an office. So we were in 3 separate units, all within the same area, all the same development, but we were in 3 separate units. And we were trying to de-silo everything. So the whole purpose, the whole vision of the companies, we're stronger together. Let's de-silo all this. Let's not have individual interior design, construction professionals, and architecture. We're all stronger together. Yet we were in 3 separate units. It was extremely difficult. It was like a supercharger when we got into the collaboration center. I mean, it seems like such a distant memory of being in those 3 units and what we were going through. It feels like 50% of the things that we were struggling with were solved just by coming together.
I feel like, I mean, it feels like we've been in this building now for 10 years.
Totally.
I mean, it feels like it was just fit for us. It's our home. I mean, we love it. And I agree, that was a struggle that first, year and a half, trying to build a company and be in 3 different office spaces.
Yeah.
So maybe this question, maybe we just answered it, but, so where do you think, so we have these core values, right? We know collaboration is, you mentioned one, we have grab the bull by the horns, we are artisans, professionals serving professionals. Where do you think our values give us the competitive edge, especially in the luxury home market, having that vision? And
well, you alluded to it in the beginning. We've talked about it. The great success so far of the 4C group is the quality of people that we have. By being able to have defined core values and using that through the interview process, using that through the review process to help team members grow and develop, gives us ground rules. It gives us gives us an overall vision of who we're trying to become. So it is every bit of every part of who we are, from our vernacular to how we live to how we operate. Our core values are kind of like our mission statement as a company.
Yep. I think that's great. And so to me, that kind of leads us into this next thing, just specific about the 4C group and the client experience. And maybe you can talk about, take as much time, but so a client looking to come to the 4C group, their experience, maybe give us a brief walkthrough. So we've developed this philosophy called the 4C way. It's a process, but I kind of think it's a philosophy, right? The 4C way, which is how do we take a project through conception all the way through completion? So how does that look like from the first contact of the client all the way through delivery? And, maybe talk about some of the big challenges that we've solved for our clients that, I think other companies may struggle with, whether using a separate architect, interior designer, or contractor.
I mean, the 4C way is definitely a philosophy, definitely a process. Philosophy from the standpoint of we're stronger together, speaking to the whole vision. Process from the standpoint of how our togetherness can go ahead and help the clients to have that luxury client experience from a step-by-step process. So when we first merged the company, we actually stood in front of a whiteboard and we drew up what our overall vision was. We'd finished traction. It wasn't like our VTO portion of traction, but we were kind of just drawing up what we thought. And we both were like, yes, we need to have a senior team, a senior project manager for construction, senior project architect from architecture, senior interior designer from interiors. And let's create this team of strong individuals that recognize the power of being together and them bringing the client into that whole 4C process of the 4 corners of collaborative table to ensure that they have that luxury client experience. The 4C way goes through that entire process of which senior team leader owns the overall step and the client at that point to ensure that they're bringing everyone together to be able to provide that luxury client experience. So the 4C way is really just a matter of ownership of the team to ensure the client has that experience.
Great. So that kind of covers. So we've talked about, where you've come from, the beginning of the 4C group, kind of where we're at today. I think that's just, where we're relevant and the 4C way and the process. Let's look out there. and talk a little bit about the future, and maybe if you're going to drop 4C collection in this, but what does the future of luxury home building look like from your eyes as a CEO of the 4C Group?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. So as we've talked a little bit about it so far, the industry is siloed. It's full of mom and pop, and that's not meant to be condescending. Just full of.
I was a mom and pop for 20 years.
100%.
So I loved it.
It's a matter of small companies that service construction, small companies that service interior design, small companies that service architecture, that provide each of those services. The industry has siloed all of us, not just from the standpoint of being individual companies, but insurance companies and attorneys have drafted contracts that force the architect and the builder to butt heads against each other, which is the antithesis of where power comes from of being together. It's a universal principle that 1 + 1 = 3 from the standpoint of you can do more with others than you can on your own. So it's unfortunate the industry has been siloed so much. So thus the 4C Group, we're trying to go ahead and bring everything together, and we're trying to do things differently than the rest of the market's doing it. We feel so strongly that the right way to do this is together. Now, keeping that in mind, I believe I'm putting my bets on this, that there's a momentum change in this industry. That there will be more companies like the 4C Group in this industry than what they are right now. I think there's going to be a shift to that because that's the right way to do it. And if it's the right way, it's going to happen. Software is being written to bring it all together.
Yep.
And I'm putting my bets on software that software wins. I really think that's going to happen. So I think with what we're doing, we're going to prove that it can be done, and we're going to have other people following us and doing it as well. So that's one element to answer that question. We're continuing to go ahead and we're continually trying to figure out the best way to provide a luxury client experience. So one piece I've not really talked about yet is, and we talk about this in the company, a luxury client experience is first understanding who our clients are, but it's setting clear expectations. If you can set clear expectations, manage to those expectations, you will be always positioned to exceed those expectations. And that's what we're trying to do as the company, is everything we're doing is to set clear expectations. We have architecture, interiors, and construction all together to come up with quality and quantity of work so we can have clear scope of work. That's setting clear expectations. Our entire process, the 4C way, is constantly managing to those expectations so that when the client, throughout the entire process, they don't have to worry about the problems. They're just making decisions along the way. We're trying to make it as frictionless as possible. We are positioned to exceed their expectations. We're controlling the narrative. It's the right way to do it. Now, as we're continually trying to figure out new ways to do that, we've come up with this idea of the 4C collection. It's a product where our full team comes together, designs the whole thing together from the standpoint of a construction professional that puts it together, from an architect that has phenomenal design intent, an interior designer that wants to go ahead and make sure that the spaces and everything relates to each other. Fully cohesive, fully collaborative experience of these guys going through and designing these homes that we can go through and attach a price to it because we know all of the information to it. We can bid the whole thing out, be able to provide a price, and go to a client and say, hey, client, here's a house. It will fit on this lot. It's this much money. We have just shaved a year off the overall process. And not only that, but we've designed this whole thing as a collaborative group to give you the very best product possible. So it is of utmost of incredible quality, and we can shorten the time frame.
And you know the cost. Isn't that the magic 3?
It is the magic 3. Cost, quality, and schedule.
Yep.
And so as we continually trying to find ways to further this luxury client experience of setting clear expectations, managing those expectations so we're positioned to exceed those expectations with regards to cost, quality, and schedule, the 4C collection is going to be a huge tool in our tool bag to be able to help to provide that luxury client experience for those clients that want that. Now, a lot of clients still want the custom thing, and that's awesome. We will definitely do that. That is our bread and butter. But this is just another piece of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yep, I think it's going to be fantastic, and I love your cost, quality, and schedule. Right? That's if you had to narrow down that right, the expectations we're trying to hit.
100%.
That's a 3.
If you're trying to get any service, anything, whether it's building a house or whether you're trying to get service on your car or whatever the case may be, if the professional can set a clear expectation with regards to cost, quality, and schedule, and you hit those things, everyone is happy. Everyone
going to be happy.
That's an experience. That's a luxury experience.
I love that. So it's obvious you have tremendous passion for the 4C group, where we've taken it, grown, as you would say now. Maybe that's your first child. Maybe
not my kids. My kids always say, "Who's your favorite, Dad?"
4C group.
No, I can say 4C group. No, I will. I will. That's not.
So with that,
I love you all the same.
Just the 4C's. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. So, what's one legacy? Thinking about the future, what's one legacy you hope the 4C group leaves behind?
Quality of people.
Quality. I love that. Yeah. Right.
Let's continue to grow and provide opportunities for this company so that we can provide opportunities for team members to grow and develop.
I love that.
I am so dedicated to that. I know you are too. We are so dedicated to seeing our team grow and develop. And if we can go ahead and bring up the next generation of leaders within this industry, man, be able to build on this togetherness and really change how the industry is done in this market.
Yeah.
That to me is what it's all about.
Yeah, I love it. So now we've past, present, and future. I love it. 4C group. So now I like to call this little part. This is called our lightning round. Okay. Some little quick questions that I think are kind of fun here. So
we get some thunder sound effects.
I don't know. Do we have thunder there? All right. So what's one thing every luxury client deserves? And I think we just answered that.
A luxury client experience being together.
Now I look, I'm like, well, that one was obvious, right? So favorite part of your day as a CEO?
People, spending time with people. 100%. I love one-on-ones. Like I love them.
Yeah.
I probably take advantage a little bit because I love them so much. Meaning taking advantage, I probably do more than I could be more effective with my time with spending it with more people. But I love the one-on-ones. I love being able to spend time with people and help us all grow.
Yeah, that's great. And I know you love that part of the job. That's awesome. One quote that defines your leadership style. I don't know if that one's fair because
one quote.
I don't know if it could be your own, right? Like what your belief. Like what's one thing what defines your leadership style in a one sentence?
Dude,
I thought you would just knock this one out.
I mean, it causes me to look the mirror a little. So it's not a quote, but here's a stream of thoughts.
Okay.
That's as good as I'm going to.
No, I love it. There's no wrong answers, Josh.
Yeah. It's, I love to see people grow. We grow through challenges. And this whole idea of opposition in all things, it's recognizing those oppositions and be able to, I don't want to say fight through them, but maybe there's an element of fighting through it, but be able to work through opposition. That's where real growth comes from.
I love that.
And so it's, I would say I care deeply, deeply, deeply about people and especially this company. And I want to see them grow and I'm going to challenge them because through challenges we grow.
You definitely challenge people, Josh.
Good.
That's no one would argue with that one. I think that's great.
Good.
Let's see. This goes right in. What's the biggest lesson you've learned as being a leader, right? You probably had some preconceived notions of how you were going to lead. What's a lesson that you've kind of learned and maybe taken that and made yourself a better leader?
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but let me kind of, I'll kind of change it up just a little bit. While I knew the importance of collaboration, while I knew the importance of being together, to answer your question, what I've learned the most is how much more opportunity for growth there is individually and collectively when you are together. And I say that because I've experienced it to a degree that I've never experienced it before while we've been building the 4C group. It's been challenging, there's no question. But being able to do it with incredible people, and we're all doing it together, has been life-changing. It's a cliche thing to say, but it's the truth. So just experiencing that.
Yeah.
I knew it before, but you don't really know something until you experience it at a different level.
I mean, I would say it's always evolving. I think if we did this in another 2 years, you would probably even have some different things to say about that as leadership.
Yeah. And it's always going to relate to challenges.
Yep. So I know like one of your things you talk about begin with the end in mind, which translates to really trying to understand your vision, where you want to go, which translates into scheduling. And I know you're a big proponent, right, of scheduling your time, right? So morning routine, non-negotiable or flexible?
I would love to. I'm going to say non-negotiable, but the last week and a half has been more negotiable than it should have been.
Yeah.
But morning routine, you got to start the day off. I mean, I think, Steve and our Covey, it was like one of those big epiphany moments. You and I had the opportunity to kind of help teach the team about we sharpen the saw, habit 7. And it's this whole idea of, when you get on a plane and the stewardess does her whole thing, she says, if the cabin loses pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling or whatever the case may be. Put your mask on first before you put it on your child. Because if you pass out, you can't help your kid. And so morning routine allows you to go ahead and make sure you take care of yourself so you're positioned to help other people. It's this whole idea of, as human beings, we are physical, mental, spiritual, and social. And we need to take care of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual so that we're positioned to take care of the social. And that whole element to me has been huge. It's allowed me to go ahead and be a better leader. It's helped me to be able to be more present with those that we have stewardship over. It's if I can take care of my physical, my mental, and my spiritual every single morning, I'm always better positioned to take care of that social or to take care of other people.
Well, that kind of goes here. So what do you think is the most underrated habit for success?
Of 7 habits?
No, it could be anything, right? Like this goes to that. Everybody thinks there's something new to become more successful, but what do you think is the most underrated thing that it's like, just do this? Like,
where's that record that's
broken?
Like, broken because the most underrated habit is the habit of being able to work as a team.
Okay.
Success comes when you're working together.
Right.
There is personal success, but true success comes when you're working together, whether it's a family, whether it's a company, whether it's society. True success comes when you're doing it with other people and you see their success.
Well, this is going to sound, so at the end of the podcast, I always ask the guests to give advice to the 4C group.
Yeah.
But since you're part of the 4C group, you're going to give advice to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
This will probably be a broken record thing, but so advice is to the 4C group. So from your perspective as CEO, what's the most important thing every team member at the 4C group should keep in mind to help deliver the ultimate luxury client experience?
Together.
Collaboration.
Together.
All right, we got
to kind of. The other thing I would say is, so this is a soapbox moment. Ready?
Okay, let's do it.
My kids, especially my older kids, we've kind of landed on this definition of hard. We always talk about we should do hard
What's
things.
Hard?
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the definition of hard is, once again, we're all physical, mental, spiritual, and social being. That's who we are, right? Being a human being, it encompasses those 4 things. Things that are hard is any of those elements of a physical, mental, spiritual, or social doesn't want to do something. So as an example,
wash the dishes, Josh.
Washing dishes.
Sorry,
I'm about to go hike Kings Peak tomorrow with a bunch of young men in my family, right? And some of them don't want to do it because it's going to be hard.
Yeah,
their physical part of them is telling them how hard this is going to be. Other people, like, I'm excited. Like this isn't going to be super hard for me, but it's going to be hard for somebody, right? And that's on the physical side. Mental or social. Let's use social. Engel Volkers came here yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle. It's hard for me because my social part of me doesn't want to go out with people I don't know. That's a struggle for me.
Is that
That's
why you
hard
snuck
for
out
me.
the back door?
I had a dinner date with
Okay,
my wife.
okay.
But sure. But point being is that's the definition of hard, right?
Yeah.
Be willing to do hard things.
Wow. I feel like you keep jumping ahead, like answering my next.
Oh, sweet.
Question.
It's like you gave me the questions.
It's almost like I did, but
No, I'm
I
just
did not.
kidding.
Anyway, so final question, right? What advice would you give to your younger self starting this journey?
You know what you want to do.
Go to law school.
No, don't go to law school. That's a good one. I
know.
think
I'm glad I'm not being asked that question right now because
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how I'd answer it.
one of my weaknesses is being able to control my emotions. You know that.
I do.
I let my emotions get the best of me, and by learning 7 habits, I'm learning to be able to control my emotions. I'm learning that I can choose to control my emotions. Whether those emotions are frustrations or on the other side of the spectrum, whatever the case may be. So I would tell myself 3 years ago and say, you can choose how you react. As things become difficult, you can choose how you.
It's your choice.
If I would have chosen differently in certain situations, I think we've been better suited so far. I mean, it's not to say that's unfair to say because I hate looking.
It's part of the journey. You can't look back.
I don't regret anything.
Yes.
But you asked me what
it's
I would
advice.
tell my
it's
younger
advice
self.
you would give, right?
Yeah.
So
learn to control your emotions.
Through experience.
Be proactive. You can choose your
Yes.
emotions.
So through experience, right? You become more knowledgeable and thus able to give advice. So I love that. Well, that's a wrap, Josh.
Woohoo!
Thanks for doing it. What I would say is, once again, if you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit subscribe.
Ding, ding, ding.
If you want any information about building a custom home, 4C collection, like a tour of our 4C collaboration center, we'll put the details below and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Peace.
High five.
Air five.